Good afternoon, this is TerryTopCat for TerryTopCat Presents at Hotel Football in Manchester for Clusterview.com with the wonderful Webby from Webby and O'Neill YouTube channel. And I'm with the wonderful Webby. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
how are you doing?
Sir. I'm very well, thank you. Very well, thank you.
And so lovely to meet you in person because we've been having a little interaction on Twitter now, it's called X.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Mark Anthony, his lovely son Dylan, it's not every day that you actually engage with a stranger who you've never met. Yeah. And you have been so wonderful in the responses, and I just thought I'd be brave and ask you if we could interview you, and here we are. And thank you again. Really appreciate that.
No problem, pleasure. It's always good to talk football, talk about United, talk about the world of music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's it's an absolute pleasure, and fair play to you coming all the way from London, mixing around the corner.
Well, we couldn't wait. Once you said yes, it's like let's try and book a day. So we're here in Manchester. Let's just talk about your involvement and your love of football and how you, when you started loving Man United, you mentioned off camera, it was your mum who went to the Man United game in 1968, the European final.
Yeah, my mum was coming to the matches, you know, told me about Best Lord and Charlton and all the great times and obviously the Munich air disaster. And she went to the 68 final with a friend, jibbed it all the way, jibbed it in Wembley. And then obviously I remember coming here, I was 1976, 5 years of age, first game, and ever since.
First football match?
Yeah, I've been all around the world watching United. I was quite privileged in the 90s to work for the club, so I went all around Europe with the team.
And those times were fantastic.
The best times, weren't they? You know,
absolutely.
I was there to every away game when we won the treble. You know, not many people can say that. I went over to Poland for the prelim. The group stages in Munich, not Dortmund, Bromby, Barcelona, quarterfinals, semi-finals, Juventus, and obviously the final in Barcelona, which I'll never forget, you know, but some great times. Some bad times as well, don't get me wrong, it all wasn't good. You know, I always remember coming here, we played Crystal Palace, got beat 2-1, and the week later we played Forest away in the FA Cup third round, and people were classing it as Fergie's funeral. That's what he was calling it.
Yeah.
You know, I went to Forest. The best away end I've ever been in that Forest was 7,500 United fans, all drunk as monkeys. You know, loud. You know, and Forest was a good team under Clough. And every round that year was away. We played Ediford the next round. 1-1-0. Clayton Blackmore scored in the water. I remember coming out of the ground and all the streets were flooded. How the game was on, we'll never know. And then Newcastle away in the fifth round at St James's Park. Danny Wallace, best ever game for United, we won 3-2. Sheffield United away in the sixth round, Jockey McClare, 1-0. The two games against Oldham at Main Road, and then the final against Palace. The start of Fergie's era, you know, but being in that Forest game was surreal, because people went, Fergie's funeral, this is it. And I know Martin Edwards has come on camera and he said, if he would have got beat, he wouldn't have got sacked. He was going. We were about 15th in the league. You know, we were bobbins, but we had some big players, Mark Hughes, you know. But no, I've had some great times following United. I like saying some bad times, but it's
and let's talk about Sir Alex Ferguson. I mean, what a legacy he's left and what a manager to follow, because since then, it's been really hard to find the right fit for a great club like this.
Yeah, it's been hard, you know. As United fans, you never wanted Fergie to leave, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember him going to leave in the early 2000s, and then it was talk of Ericsson coming in, and then he changed his mind. And when we've only, you know, he built 3 or 4, 5 great teams, which is hard to do, you know what I mean. And the success in the football, we used to go round with our chest up, and people used to hate us. They still do now because we was arrogant, but because of the football we was playing, we could do that. And obviously we've tried, you know, David Moyes, I don't think was given long enough.
No, he wasn't.
Was he the man to take the helm? I don't think he was. For me, it should have been Mourinho after Ferguson left, but Mourinho come, and I'll always be grateful for Jose because he finished the jigsaw when we won that Europa League in Stockholm against Ajax. We completed the jigsaw, you know, and Mourinho was just at the wrong time. And Van Gaal, really, if you said to me about Louis Van Gaal, he was an 80s manager. But Van Gaal was funny, you know, and the football wasn't great, and Ollie for me should never been given a job. I love Ollie to bits. I'm a friend of his. I'll be with him in a couple of months. He's coming over to Manchester. We've got a night out planned.
That's great.
But the thing was, he won those first 15 games, and he gave him a job. He should have just said to him, "Be director of football. Here's a couple of £1 million for what you've done. and he just went up for it, you know, and you know.
But it's so hard, like you say, the legacy that Fergie's left. It's really hard. So let's talk about our current manager now, Erik ten Hag. I like him. I think he's a great manager. I love particularly how he's given the youth a lot of opportunities. So, you know, we've got Garnacho, who's been playing regularly. Manu, well, let's talk about Manu. Manu's a generational talent. And other kids are coming through as well. What do you think of the current youngsters, the ones which are going to get chances? So we got this Obi Martin, who's 16-year-old. They signed from Arsenal. Yeah.
Well, if you look at last year, the under-18s, I think they got beat once all year. Well, twice they got the worst performance they did was in the FA Youth Cup, which is their World Cup down at Swinton. They got knocked out in the third round, but apart from that, they beat Liverpool 10-1. You know, I mean, proper good team, and some of them are going to get the chance.
I hope so.
For me, there's nothing better as a United fan, and we've got that record where it's for so many years now a member of the matchday squads that have been come through the youth development. Nobody can touch it in the world, mind this country or the Premier League. You know, and for me, if you're good enough, you're old enough. You know,
absolutely,
put them in. You know, I look at the game on Saturday. I went down to Wembley on Saturday. I never got another Charity Shield in my life. I keep saying that all the time. But the City players, there's no fear. You put a load of kids on, they've got no fear. You know, for 25 minutes, we couldn't get near them until we sussed them out and we give them a couple of tasty tackles, and then they went out of the game. But if they're good enough, they're old enough, and I do hope that they do get a chance this year, you know, because there's nothing better as a local United fan seeing someone coming through the ranks which not cost us a penny. You know, for me, why go out and spend 50, 60, 70, 80 million when you've got a kid there in the reserves and the youth team? Give him a chance.
Absolutely.
Give him a chance, and 9 out of 10 will come good. But you look at the thing with Manu, you know, the kid's class.
Absolutely.
He's proved that this year with England, you know, nothing phases him.
But I listened to one of your, with a big shout out to Tony O'Neill, you do the YouTube channel with him, and you were talking about Manu that, yeah, maybe he should have, I mean, obviously the whole England wanted him to play, the whole nation wanted him to play, but, you know, he's only 19. He needs a break. Yeah. You know, and it's a lot of pressure on these young players.
Of course, a club like United, any club, if you're a young kid coming in, you know, but I was quite lucky enough to see Manu coming through the ranks, looks a different class above the rest at that time. So much time and on the ball and finding spaces, and when he got called in the England squad, I was gutted. I wanted him on a beach this summer with his feet up, you know, because he's played Saturday, that was his first game, he played 60 minutes Saturday, and he wasn't up to standard because he's had a summer full of football, but if he stays free of injury, he's got a great career here, and we look after him right, you know. Don't be too stupid with the money situation, but money talks. If United don't do it, someone else will get in. Because the kid's that good.
I was worried about that. Let's say he has another great season, and you've got the likes of Real Madrid who can afford to pay silly money.
Yeah. You look at Garnacho as well, you know, another special talent. You know, I'm a big fan of Ahmed. You know, for me, he starts Friday, him and Garnacho, but it won't because Rashford will start. That's just my opinion, but I never thought he'd actually make it here. But he's proved me wrong. He's gone to Sunderland on loan.
Didn't he go to Rangers as well?
Went to Rangers, didn't work out at Rangers. Went to Sunderland. My mate who's a Sunderland season ticket holder was raving about him every week to me on the phone. And I was trying to watch him, little glances when I could of Sunderland, but he's come back and he's proved it last year with him winning against Liverpool. Whatever he does else in his United career, being in that ground when he hit that 4th goal against them Rats, it was the best feeling ever. And it's what the ground deserves, you know. That ground erupted that day like it should be. You know, last minute goal against Liverpool. There's nothing better. So what was it
like for you as a United fan when it was lockdown and the fans couldn't go? That must have been hard. It's not the same, right? No. Watching it on TV or in a pub than actually going to the ground and have that atmosphere of a live game.
What it was when the lockdown was, we was doing the filming here on a match day, so we was doing like after the match reaction outside with the ground, and obviously it was dead surreal with no fans being around. Speaking to people who were commentating inside the grounds, they just said to me, it was horrible. You know, you're commentating there and you've got no one around. You know, it must have been hard for the players as well. You know,
absolutely.
But as a fan, you know, there was regular fans who'd come down here on a match day and just walk around the ground while the game was on because they didn't know anything else to do. You know, a couple of lads who I know from social media was every home game down here, and apparently they went to the away games and just walked around the stadium. It was very hard for football fans, but we got through it now, and
absolutely,
it's not been the greatest. But like you're saying, last year's cup final put the top out onto a bad season because last season was a bad season.
I mean, 8th is not good enough for a club like United at all.
But I was lucky 8th. You know, some games are going there, and I'd be distraught. You know, on a Saturday night, wanting to go to bed as soon as I got home from work here, not wanting to do anything. You know, if United got beat, my dogs would disappear. They'd know when I come in, I was in a bad mood. They'd go upstairs. You know what I mean? Because United is my life.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's not just me. There's thousands of thousands. With when COVID was on, you couldn't get in. You know, it was that. If you're working all week, that was your time away from life. Getting into what you love, and when you couldn't get to it, knowing it was there, it was hard, but we got through that now, and hopefully looking forward to a good season.
So talking of current players and ones that left, I want to first of all talk about, I love David De Gea. I think he was an amazing player, and he stayed at United so many times, and didn't really like the way that he didn't get a proper send-off, a testimonial. I think he might be signing for a club this week.
He's signed,
good. I'm glad that he got a club because he's still a world-class goalkeeper.
After what had happened, if you come working for me and I offered you a contract for £1,000 a week, then I take it back and give you the same contract for 400, you're going to tell me where to go.
Absolutely.
And that's what they've done here. They've offered him the contract, pulled it back with the last thing.
And do you think that was down to the manager or the hierarchy?
Probably the hierarchy we're paying. He wasn't
he was on a lot of money.
Which is fair enough, but he's took a year out, and speaking to a few of the ex-players who we know, he's been keeping himself fit, playing paddle all the time, and obviously signed for Fiorentina. But if you're looking at it last year when Jeremy Beadle started doing his antics in goals and Arno, you know, you're screaming for him back, getting back. He's only up the road, he's not got no club. But obviously I don't think the club...
Was he still living in Manchester?
Still is. Until obviously he's gone over there. Altrincham, Aylway, doing nothing. A year out of football is a long time. Let's see how he does, because don't get me wrong, he made some horrendous mistakes, but with a goalkeeper, if you make a mistake, you get punished. If you're a centre-half or a centre-forward, you can get away with it. Yeah. But no, David, when he first come in, I'll always remember his first game, the Charity Shield, when I think it was... Jacko hit one in from about 40 yards or 40 yards, another duck egg in next year, another padded note.
Your terminology.
And then that summer afterwards, he'd come back and he'd bolts up.
And he stayed United so many times, over so many seasons. 5
player of the years out of 7 or 8 years, says it all for me. And that's when we was up near the top as well. Yeah. No, but big loss, but...
And also want to talk about Paul Pogba, Jadon Sancho, because... You know, it's a lot of pressures on, even if you're not one of these young players, but you're an established member of the team, you know, what with social media, the pressure of being a, you know, young kids look up to you, you know, you're a role model. So mental health, I think, is really important and plays in any kind of sport. So, you know, I know he had his time away from, you know, and I think in that respect he was looked after really well. And then, you know, we obviously had that fallout with the manager. So, and now he's back. And we don't know whether he's going to stay or not.
Go.
Do you think so?
I think he'll go. Sometimes your name's not just written to play for the club. Me and Tony was stood out there for months and months. It seemed years. And we're going to sign Sancho from Dortmund. We got.
And let's say he's an amazing player. He's a great player.
He was a regular for England. Full stop.
That's right.
You know, he was probably one of the first on the team sheet, but it never happened. And in that fallout, I was a bit annoyed at the manager because that was Fergie. And if they asked him about a player on camera, he'd say he's injured. Don't come on and say he's not been training well, but then the story doesn't close, it stays open.
Absolutely.
You keep it in-house. Ferguson would have said, right, Alex, why is Jadon Sancho not playing? Oh, he felt a bit of his hamstring in training, he wasn't worth the risk. Don't say he's not been training well. We don't want to know. As fans, it hurts you. Well, why is he not training properly? He's living my dream.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
Bit annoyed that they never apologised. I was annoyed with the manager, annoyed with the club. He's back now, but you can tell. And missing that penalty, sometimes it's in the stars, he shouldn't be here. I hope he stays because he's a good player.
Yeah, very
you know
good
what
player.
he can do, but It looks like he could be got a PSG. I just
Yeah.
want the best of both for the lad himself,
Absolutely,
and for the club. Let's see what happens, but I'll be very, very surprised he's still here at the end of the window. That's my opinion.
Paul Pogba, again, an exceptional talent for France, and he had a few seasons with United too.
I think with Pogba, personally,
Do you think there was too many distractions off
too
the
many
pitch?
distractions, and he believed his own hype.
Yeah.
You know, he was that much of a player. And you can take on, I'll be serious now, you can take on one hand his great performance for United. He should have come here and took the game by the scruff of the neck, because we knew he had the talent. You look at the derby where he scores 2. You know, he runs a game to stop City winning the league that day. What a great day that was, being in the away end. But for me, you know, people saying, well, he's done this, but for me, N'Golo Kanté made him the player he was for France, because he's a player. I'm surprised nobody has gone in for him and getting back from Saudi, because he'd do a job in the Premier League still. He was superb in the Euros.
Who's that?
Kanté.
Oh yes, yeah,
Great
yeah.
player.
He was brilliant.
And he's over there in Saudi.
What do you think about a lot of players going to Saudi? Because, you know, on one hand, they got to look after their families.
Do not blame them, mate.
Careers can be really short with
Don't
injuries.
blame him one bit. You know, he's talking De Bruyne going over, and he's come out and said, listen, I'm going over there and earn a load of dough. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
I do not blame anyone. The only ones what I blamed at first, and it wasn't Saudi, it was the Chinese league, when the kid from Chelsea, I think he was 24, Brazilian, he'd left for money. Oscar. He'd left for $500,000 a week. He's not even in his prime. He's going to a league what's not established. If he was 34, I'd understand.
Yeah,
but 24, but Saudi, they're paying the money. Money talks, as we know. Money talks, you know.
Yeah.
If you've got a job and someone says, come and do the job for me, I'll give you 4 times what you're getting now, you're going to say, I'm going.
But saying that, when you say money talks, I think it's very rare now. You have people, I'm looking around here and I'm looking at the stats of Brian Giggs and Paul Scholes and how many appearances they made for Man United and the loyalty that they only play for one club. It's very rare these days. Don't you think that many play, you know, because money does talk. And like you say, I understand that they got families to feed and an injury could cut their career short.
I just think now it's very rare you get a player what stays at one club. You know, you just mentioned Gary, Paul.
Yeah.
Ryan had the chance to go, maybe.
So did Scholesy
to Winter and places like that. But this is where they're at. Is you look at people like John Terry, people like Jamie Carragher, who stayed at one club. You know, Gerrard, and they're all good players. But now, 99.9% of the players don't have any loyalties. You know, they might come on and kiss the badge, and 2 weeks later they're on a flight to Saudi.
Yeah.
You know, but like you're saying, I can't knock them. Like you're saying, it's a short career. They could get injured, get as much money as they can. But, you know, I look at that Saudi league. There was a game last year, I don't know who it was, but there was more at a non-league 7th-tier football game than there was at this game. You know, there was like 200 fans difference. There was like 900 fans. I think it was a team who was Jordan Henderson who was playing for it at the time. 900 spectators.
He didn't stay long either.
No, he realised he had to.
And it's also difficult for their partners as well with the rules that they have to abide by in those countries, which is fair enough. You know, let's talk about injuries. So last season, Man United finished 8th, and they had a lot of injuries. So do you think they've changed the infrastructure of with not only with the coaching, but to deal with injuries, and hopefully this season there won't be so many.
Well, you hope that all the time. You know, it didn't help with the young kid who was signed getting injured. Getting injured in America. But I'm looking at it there and I'm thinking, every other day there was an injury coming out of Carrington, and then I've got a couple of mates, believe it or not, who work for City, who are well up there, and all Guardiola does come like middle April, you're not having training, a bit of ball work and they're back in. He's running them through brick walls. You don't need that towards the end of last season. It was just mad because every like I said, every other day there was an injury coming out, and you come to the point where I was thinking, when's this going to stop? Is it the training staff? Is it the grass? That's what you think.
Because didn't they play AstroTurf from one of the, you know, that's not
for the injuries we got, it was unreal. So the fingers crossed and touch wood, we don't get injuries is part and parcel of the game.
Absolutely.
But I was coming on and blaming injuries for some of our performances, which really you shouldn't do, but we had that many injuries. Christ, there's players playing outside.
And important players like Martinez, who is, I love Martinez. I mean, he's a great player. And, you know, when you got him and then Varane was very injured a lot, and then Luke Shaw, and then a new goalkeeper as well.
Well, looking at Luke Shaw there, I'm one of his biggest fans. I think on his day he's the best left back in Europe.
I agree.
Just don't have too many of those days. He'll play one game, he'll miss 5 or 6. And then I remember the game he come off injured here at half time, thinking that's him done. And then next week we played at Luton and he played, got injured again, and we never seen him then. I think that was the start of February. So I think we do need to go into I don't think our spending's finished yet.
So let's go over the players that Man United have signed. So they've signed Zerke.
Yeah.
So do we know much about him other than he's Dutch? And also we got big shout out to Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's back at the club. So hopefully as an experienced striker.
I've had an argument with a City fan who I know saying, well, he couldn't get on in the Euros. Weghorst got on before him. I said the only reason why it happened because the manager was a shitbag. The Dutch manager wouldn't play him. He went with the long ball up and let's get the bits and pieces. That's what Koeman was like. That's why he never lasted at Everton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's all he did.
Was he Barcelona manager as well?
He was Barcelona manager, Dutch manager.
That's right.
You know, so
very experienced manager.
And we spoke off camera before, saying sometimes the best players don't make the best managers.
Absolutely.
Brian Robson was the ideal manager for me at Man United. Roy Keane never done anything in management really. I know Keane promoted Sunderland, but Robbo didn't do a lot at Middlesbrough. He got him relegated. So that's why he never got on at the Euros, because the manager didn't have the balls to do it. He went with a safe option by playing Weghorst.
We've got Yoro, who unfortunately is injured, but he looks a good prospect. And
I don't think he would have started off the season with him, but obviously he don't injured the 3 months, which is a bit of a nightmare.
You've got De Ligt, who they just signed, who he's worked with, Den Haag has worked with as well. Again, it's a bit of a gamble because he hasn't played in the Premiership, and maybe Braithwaite might have been a better option. We don't know.
I think De Ligt's a good player, but I'm also worried when Eric Dyer keeps you out of the team when he was at Bayern Munich, you know. So it's all about managers. He's worked with him at Ajax, you know.
That's right.
I can remember him at Ajax and that cut run, but he also remember Donny van der Beek being in that team and being an absolute worlder. And he never made it here, but let's see what happens. I think he's suited for the Premier League's game, you know, and obviously Wan-Bissaka leaving and the kid coming in from Munich as well. Seems the kind of player which he wants, you know. I think nowadays full-backs have got to be wingers as well.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, Wan-Bissaka couldn't cross the road behind the football. So, great as a defender.
Yeah.
Probably one of the best in the Premier League as a winger, but the amount of times he got caught out for goals on the back post by him daydreaming. But what I couldn't stand about him, he used to be a winger at Palace as a kid. So where's his ability going to cross in the ball? Yeah. Anyway, it's best on ball. He wasn't going to sign a new contract. We've got 15 million for him. I wish him all the best. He's back in London. So
he's happy. Where else do you think do you think we need another central midfielder?
Yeah, all day long.
What's that other kid called? Ben Shelley? Isn't there a young kid as well?
Yeah, I'm going to back for 20 million. It's not a risk.
No, because he knows the Premiership. He's had a good season.
He did well towards it, and obviously he went to the African Cup of Nations with Morocco, but didn't set the ground. But for me, he'd come in a game, he'd be out 2 games. When he got that run of 3 or 4 games, he was cup final says it all.
Yeah,
played very well in the cup final. Now he's gone on strike again at Fiorentina.
Has he?
Yeah, man after me own heart. Get him back for 20 million. It's a no-brainer.
That's true.
But there's plenty.
We've got plenty of cover. We've got McTominay. We don't know how Casemiro's going to perform this season. We've got Manu.
Yeah.
You know,
Mason Mount's a big season for him coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. With the
where does he play? You know, for me, it's hard. Number 10, but Bruno's there.
Absolutely.
But I think Mount can do you the job in the centre of the park. But I just don't like this false number 9, which he played obviously in the cup final at Wembley. For me, people can hide. They can hide, you know, they can come into that space and not really do a lot, not really affect the game. But obviously with the injuries with Ireland and Zerkzee not being...
Do you like Hoyland? He's got a lot of prospect. He's a hot prospect.
If he gets a service, if you would have put him in City's team last year, he would have got 30 goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're not doing a service.
Yeah.
With Anthony and Rashford when they were playing, they'd beat a man instead of whipping in, they'd try and beat him again, go back on him again. If he gets a service, he'll score goals. I've not got a problem with that.
I agree.
I'm not going to say he's going to be another Ireland, but he will score goals.
So I want to talk about a topic that I think is really important, especially nowadays, and especially with all the riots that are happening about racism and homophobia. Unfortunately, that exists a lot in football still.
Yeah.
Especially with racism, when all those players of colour, when they played for England and they got all racially abused, and the responsibility of social media, that where they should really crack down on all these races, or I don't think they do enough. Maybe I know a lot of the players and the teams and the FA probably trying their best to fight racism, but when these players of colour go abroad, they get so racially abused, and they get racially abused here online. I just think, how can it get better? How can it progress? How can it?
For me, especially after the England Euros, when the three lads got absolutely abused, find this person, send him to prison. Send him to prison for 5 years. Don't give him a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
Make an example of him.
Ban him from the club, and then.
But ban him from everything. Half of these, I've seen them online where United players have made a comment after a match. The next thing, there's monkey emojis on and bananas. Do you know who it is? Go and nick him and give him 5 years. You know what I mean? I was setting you off camera before. When I was a kid coming here, I got absolutely dogs abuse in that ground. Something where I could have turned my back on football, not just United, on football in general.
Yeah.
But I got over it, and there was people before me, Sam Smart, Coco, God rest his soul, were coming here and was a pioneer for young coloured people going to the match and having to take all the abuse. And I was saying about the match before, if you ever watch it on YouTube, it's probably one of the most famous matches here for a wrong reason. Manchester United 3, West Brom 5, with Brendan Batson, Cyril Regis and Gerald Sinstad, the commentator. He says it, Manchester United fans are making monkey sounds towards the West Brom players.
Even had Ron Atkinson make comments. I mean,
it's hard, Ron Atkinson mustn't go a day past where he realises what a fool he was and how it affects him. Years ago
and he promoted so many black players.
He was the first one.
Yeah.
The 3 degrees they were called, weren't they?
Degrees,
I remember the picture with him at the Hawthorns, the 3 degrees, and them, Brendan Batson, Cyril Regis and Lottie Cunningham.
Yeah, Lottie.
With a free girl, you know what I mean? And Ron was like the same, was one of the pioneers, and he comes out and makes statements like that. But you don't hear a lot about it now in the ground. But if someone makes a mistake, you go on your social media, whatever, they're getting absolutely dogs abuse. So for me, they get it and make an example of someone. Give them 5 years.
Same thing with homophobia, because a lot of players. I'm sure there's some.
I've seen comments here by friends about the Rainbow Devils. Why the fuck should they be in the ground?
So they're the Man United gay supporters, like Arsenal haven't.
Why shouldn't they be in the ground?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why shouldn't they be at away games? And this was a very good friend, and he's still a friend of mine because we grew up. But I don't like him in my company now for making that. Why should they be in the ground? Like, what?
Because they love football.
What? Because they've got some disease? What's going to kill you? They love football like me and you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it must be hard for them. Coming in and making comments, and I know the dudes. I know a couple of them been coming in here with running the security and hotel football on match days, and it's the same as me and you. They love United. Don't matter what colour or creed or what they like. They still love the club we love, and to make a comment like that, no, it was below the belt,
and that leads to misogyny and not proven. But I've talked to you on the phone before about Mason Greenwood, and I'm a big fan of him as a footballer, like a generational talent.
Yeah.
Why do you think it went wrong? Do you think it was his upbringing, or he wasn't supported by the people?
I was quite fortunate by being close to one of his teammates' family, so I managed to see Mason grow up from being like the age of 7, 8, 9. And
you saw the talent there straight away.
I'll come on record by saying the best natural finisher since Robbie Fowler in the Premier League. Right foot, left foot, header. This club was going to build a team round him. It was that good. But an absolute plant pot. Absolute idiot. There's one game, I'll always remember this game. United played Chelsea Youth. United won the North, Chelsea won the South. So in the Chelsea team you had Mason Mount, Reece James, Tamore, who else was in it? There was another one in it, maybe Shalaba. United had Garner, Levitt, Deschamps Bernard, Ted and Mengu's now at Luton. And United won 4-3 and Mason scored all 4 goals. Brilliant game. Brilliant. Best kids' youth game I've been. When they was giving him the trophy, he walked off. He wasn't interested. And that summed him up for me. They had to get him out of the dressing rooms. You know, I won't say it's up me because I met his dad. His dad's a lovely bloke. I met his dad at a reserve game. Had a good half an hour with him, saying about it. He played for United in Europe, and the next night there was a reserve game, and he wanted to play, and the club went no. He said, I want to play with his mates. But there was something wasn't there. And unfortunately, we're not going to. But he was never going to come back. Yeah. You know, I know he got found not guilty, but we all seen the tapes. We all seen it, heard him. We all seen and heard him. And I always remember getting up that morning and seeing it on social media and like brushing it to one side. Didn't realise how big it was. And then Christ, as the day developed, he got suspended. But he should be here. He was the one to break Rooney's record with a run. Yeah. With a run in the club. Because the club would have never got rid of him because he was United daft. He was the one who was going to break Rooney's record, and that'll never happen now. And, you know, playing in an average team in Spain last year, there was talk of Barcelona, Real Madrid looking at him, and now he's in the south of France. His missus had a kid, they seem all happy. I wish him all the best. You know, he'll never play for England, unfortunately. Yeah. But he should have been made, there should have been a statue of him.
So as you said, it was like his mentality, but surely that should have been more the responsibility of people around him to guide him, really?
I think so much, Terry, is that some of these players...
Do you think it's because they're on too much money?
You look at Brandon Williams. He's gone now.
Oh my God, he was great. I used to like
him. He went from £250 to 40 grand a week. Private planes. You know. Yeah,
at that age, the 18, 19, yeah.
You know, he's been left now, and there's a lot of rumours in Manchester he got addicted to that gas. I don't know how true it is, and he can't play football now. Now that's a rumour. What a player he was, but you come in from the under-18s, under-19s, missing the reserves mainly, playing and scoring at Bramhall Lane, and then going on that big contract and getting private jets. You're from Miles Platin, son. Remember your roots. But you can't blame him. We're running what the club put him on. Give him $3 grand and put the rest.
You're right.
You know, because I'd be
too much responsibility financially.
So many kids. Yeah. I know one of the players who made his debut in Asano and then made his international debut for Wales. He went from £2,000 a week to 20 in the space of 10 days, but kept his head on him, stayed at digs when the other lads, Garner, who made his debut under
he's
Solskjaer,
not United anymore,
he bought an apartment in town, went out and paid for an apartment. You'd not made it, you played 2 or 3 games for United, stay at the digs, you know. But I can't fault him. I can't fault him. Like I say, it's a short career, but there you go.
A couple of other questions before we finish up. So I want to talk about the role of the lower leagues, because like we come from music background, myself and Mark Anthony, and you know, primarily we like to support like young emerging artists, new bands, because it's about that. That's the future. So with the lower leagues, do you think the money's distributed equally, or could they do more, the FA, to bring, you know, obviously, like you say, the scouting system could be great. They find a really generational talent from one of these younger teams, and then the pressures of playing for a big club, like United or City or Arsenal or Liverpool.
I just think with the lower league clubs, they get a raw deal. You know, I look at it the other week. I'm quite fortunate with obviously knowing the lads. I go and watch Salford quite a lot when it doesn't clash with United. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow night. They played Doncaster in the cup.
Salford.
And they're quite lucky, but the catchment area around here, with Salford not gaining promotion for 2 or 3 years, the crowds drop off because they see him win. They want to see him win every year, and it doesn't happen, unfortunately. No. And I do feel like the lower league crowd. I always think for the lower league, say the FA Cup 3rd round, the lower league club gets drawn at home, and the Premiership Cup, so they get the full.
TV revenue
even that though now, when they come years ago, if you was all league club and you drew United and you was at home, you could get it changed there. You can't even do that now. You know, so just say for the fact, say Salford drew United, at Moor Lane only owes 5,000. Have it here and get 75,000.
Yeah, and give them the revenue.
Give them it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give them it all. You know, not.
That could really
I
help.
always remember there, United played Exeter or Barnet, someone in the cup, and United fans were kicking off that United wanted to do a cheaper price ticket, but they wouldn't. They said no. this is going to save us for 2 or 3 years. Charge your fans and our fans a full price. And I totally agree with him. But I think now, any cup games before the 6th round, and then it goes for a neutral, give the small teams all the dough.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Because there was a transfer the other day, wasn't there, where someone, I forget what player, it'll come to me, that the team out of it got themselves something like 8 or 9 million from a deal. That's saving them for 5-6 years, maybe 10 years. So any cup game, give the smaller clubs, because you get a raw deal, they get a bad raw deal. And you've got to remember, some of these best players we're seeing now
came from those leagues.
You know, you look at Ian Rush, don't like saying his name, you look at David Platt from Crewe, you know, Rushy from wherever, you know, other players who have come through lower league clubs and have made it big time.
Didn't Jamie Vardy come?
Jamie Vardy was at some non-league club, you know, and he's had a great career.
So before we wrap up, I want to ask your predictions. I know it's really hard, okay, so we've talked about injuries and the ones the United have signed, but you know, I think they've got a very good side. I want to be positive and hope that they can get in the top 4, because as a squad, if everyone's fit, they've got really good, you know, almost got 2 players for each position.
Terry, I wake up, obviously we're at home Friday against Fulham, but just say it was a Saturday, I wake up, every year we're going to win the league. If you don't, there's no point supporting your club.
True.
You know, each year I say to myself, this is it, 21's incoming, 21's on its way. And if I didn't, I wouldn't bother going. But I'm going to be realistic, and there's the likes of City who are a million miles away from us, Liverpool, you got to look at Chelsea going to be there. Because if Chelsea click...
they did towards the end of the season,
Chelsea click, they're going to be a
I love
threat.
the Tottenham manager, I think he's great. They just signed Solanke, which is a good signing.
A lot of dough though, mate, a lot of dough. But that's the world's, that's what it's gone to now. Imagine how much Georgie Best would have been worth today if you're getting 65 million for Solanke.
Yeah.
George Best would have been $1 billion, it's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, Cantona 1.2 million, frightening. Dennis Irwin 650,000.
The money's obscene
Schmeichel,
now,
£500,000. You know what I mean?
Do you think there should be a cap on the players' salaries?
Yeah, there should be. You know, make it an even playing field, but they get away around it. Like you said before about Chelsea with these 6, 7, 8 year deals. You know, every time you put the telly on last year, Chelsea bought 2 players a day.
You know, they see the financial rules, and United are hard come by to buy a player, and they have to sell players to buy players, and then Chelsea signing 54 million netto, and then all these others like the season. I know they had a season where they couldn't buy players, but you know that, and then City with all the rules. I mean, Everton got points deducted, so be fair.
You look at what City do, and I don't like them, but they're right. They've sold you've seen players for some like £100 million. The keeper Trafford never kicked a ball, saved a penalty, and there was at the World Cup Youth Summit. Burnley signing for 19 million. We get players, we sell them for $1 million.
Yeah.
You know, Annabelle and other people have gone and left, and Madri, and players who I'm not saying are going to have a future at United, but let's try and get 5 million for him. Not, you know, City's just sold one to someone for 20 million. Never kicked a ball in the Premiership.
And Alvarez is going to...
That's a bit... Well, I think we'll have to look at that deal along the line. Paid 14 and sells him for 82, but there you go.
Good player though.
Good player, and he's never... I don't like speaking about them at all, but they are where we want to be at the moment, you know, and the day Pep goes can't come a day too quick for me. Because
I think he's the one who really makes them all click.
Oh yeah, you know, he's made good players into great players.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And you look at De Bruyne, before they come there, they come there again.
And Salah, they both didn't work out at Chelsea. Mourinho sold them both, and look at them now.
But to be honest, deep down, we've got to be in the Champions League.
I agree.
So
we're in Europa
Champions
League
League
season.
Without Manchester United is like Tom without Jeddah. For me, there's nothing better than on a cold September night, the kids waving the ball and hearing that music, the smell of Bovril, getting behind the boys. But if you're not in it, you don't deserve to be in it, and you're going to be in Europa League. And there's one thing I'm glad that we never got in that Europa Conference, because that would have been the laughing stock of the world. I'm fortunate we got into the Europa League, we win in the cup, but cup's a cup. Top 4 a minimum, and a nice cup run again will be great, but let's see what happens. The pressure's on Ten Hag, especially with Ruud sitting next to him. You know, people will talk. We need a good start, and it has to start Friday against Fulham.
Absolutely. Webby, it's been such an honour
Been
and
a pleasure.
Really, really
Been
lovely.
a pleasure, mate. Been a pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you very much. So this is TerryTopCat Purrsents for Clusterview.com with Webby from Webby and O'Neill YouTube channel. Been a real honour. Thank you.
Thank you very much.